Kush Maini took his first Formula 2 win at Hungary last year in the sprint race. Now he's going to return to the top step of the podium. He comes out of Anthony Nogues and down the start-finish straight to give Dams Lucas Oil their third Monaco win and himself his first of 2025.
I knew if I get off the line, the start is so much pressure in the start. I never want to relive that moment because knowing that if you mess up the start, you're done because there's going to be a very low chance you pass the guy back.
And you're just getting started, right? So it's something extremely inspiring.
Yeah, I remember my first race in Europe was, I came as national champion and I thought I was Ayrton Senna, I thought I was the best. Obviously it was a lot of races on, and when he blew up, it was obviously at breaking point. So a lot of people didn't see or can't see, what happened behind the scenes.
Let's talk about the biggest moment in your life, right? 2025, Monaco F2 sprint race, pole position, national anthem. We're all so proud. Tell us, what did you feel? What was going on? Kush Maini, welcome to the Champions podcast. During this conversation, we'd love to understand the real Kush Maini. We'd want to unlock the mindset of a champion and really look to get principles and values that is your character today to help our dreamers that are listening to this podcast derive something that they can apply to their personal lives, right? You're on a track that very few Indians have ventured on, and you're just getting started, right? So it's something extremely inspiring. And from the streets of Bengaluru to racing in Europe, you've had a tremendous journey. We're all very, very proud, especially when the national anthem played in Monaco. I think it was one of those moments that every Indian looks forward to. So thank you so much for doing that, and welcome to our show.
It's so sweet. Thank you.
Kush, we'd love to start off with understanding your early days, right? What was it growing up in the Maini household? Was racing in your blood, or it's something that you picked on very early? How did it start? Would love to understand, how did the racing bug bite you?
So it's an interesting story actually. Obviously my dad used to race at a much lower level, the national championships. And my brother obviously is 3 years older than me. He went with my dad for his first race. He got bit by the bug. And I feel he got into it straight away, and he was very fast, very talented. And then when I was about 7 and he was about 10, he was winning all the races, getting all the attention from the family, and I was sort of not getting anything, so I got a bit jealous, as a younger brother does. And my whole reason for starting from 7 to 10, starting driving and just trying to compete with Arjun was just because I wanted to beat him. That was all my, I just wanted to be better than him and beat him because he was so good, and in my eyes he was the best, and he still is. But yeah, so that 7 to 10 years old was all about me just trying to beat him. There was no process or anything. Actually, I used to run in school as well, and I used to play a lot of sports. So it was never for Arjun, it was like a light switch where it was racing. For me, it was that those first 3 years from 7 to 10 was doing different stuff and seeing what I like, and there was no real commitment from my side. So that was how I sort of got into it. But when I was about 10, that's when it got a bit more serious, I would say.
As a kid, a lot of kids love fast cars, right? Very few make it to the track. When did you realize that this is just not a dream? It's something that you want to follow and make it a career path?
See, I would say, so when I was 7 to 10, I was, in those 3 years, I didn't do much. I was always last, and Arjun was winning everything. And then when I was 10 years old, I won my first race. And that's when a little small thing woke up inside me where it was okay, I want to skip football tournaments. I want to skip athletics tournaments to race, I want to pick racing.
And this was all in Bangalore?
And this was all in Bangalore. So when I was 10, I won my first race in the national championship. And in 2011, I won the championship by winning every single race, which was never done before.
Yeah.
And that's when I was okay, I want to give this a proper shot. But obviously, after India, the next thing is Asia, and then it's Europe. Europe is a different world, and obviously, I don't have anyone with me. It's me going alone because Arjun's on a different path. He's 3 years older, so he's 3 years ahead.
Yeah.
So we had different goals. So my dad was working tirelessly in Bangalore, like he always does, and I had to leave alone when I was sort of 12 years old to go to Europe to race against the best, because that's the only way you get better. And yeah, I remember my first race in Europe was, I came as national champion, and I thought I was Ayrton Senna, I thought I was the best, and I think I finished like 60th out of like 70 karts, like I was last, and I was just shocked. It was so eye-opening. It was very easy then to just like go back and be done with it, but that challenge of trying to become the best there really drove me. And I think 2013, so in a year's time, we were fighting for the championship of that race where I finished 60th. So that period is when I would say it clicked in my mind where, okay, this can be something I want to do.
And that's amazing, right? Because as a kid, it can get really tough when you've got a lot of praise and attention for doing really well at something. And then you start going and competing at a slightly higher level, a different scene altogether.
Yeah.
And you don't do well initially.
Yeah.
Right? But that's when I think a true champion's mindset comes in, even as a kid.
Exactly.
Right? So what was that phase like? Because I feel like that's a lot of people quit during that phase.
Yep.
Find it very difficult to be motivated, especially a kid that's gone pretty much living alone, parents are in different spaces, brothers somewhere else. What did it take for you to really keep going?
I think honestly in those early years, what was probably my biggest strength was my weakness a few years after that, was probably like arrogance and humility.
Okay.
I didn't have that, but also in a way that was like, I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm not worse than you. Even if I'm finishing 60th, it's like almost you're delusional, Like, I'm not losing.
Yeah.
That drove me for the first few years. But obviously, when I started getting a bit of success, that was holding me back as well. I was not humble when I was young. When I won the World Series karting at 13, I was not humble. If someone tried to give me advice, I wouldn't take it properly. I would always take it like someone's...
You're a teenager.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But honestly, that's the one piece of advice I would give myself, because that's something I've learned now, humility, and I think it's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But I would say in a weird way, not having that humility helped me in that initial year, because it was so easy to just, I was last,
Yeah.
and it was so easy to just walk back. But I think that grit of just, I want to win here, and I don't want to be embarrassed by everyone here. Yeah. I think that was big.
And I think that's a very valid point, because at some part, if you look at any champion's journey, you go through different ups and downs in terms of highs and lows in your career, but also as your personality changes. You get humble and you'll build humility at some point, but I feel there is a point very earlier on where you have to be consumed by yourself, and you have to be totally you have to be totally drowned into self-confidence and self-belief and all about yourself to be able to really go to the next level, right? So, it's only fair. I think it's that characteristic that makes you humble today.
You said it better. That's exactly true.
Amazing.
For sure.
Motorsports is an expensive sport to get into, right? Yep. What kind of support did you have earlier on from your family? Because it takes a lot mentally, financially, emotionally, physically. Walk us through that.
I'm very lucky. I have great parents who supported my dream. When you tell someone I want to be in Formula 1, there's 22 drivers a year. That's like I want to go to the moon, almost. So especially from a country like India where no one really knows it. I was lucky my dad was a racer and obviously not at a high level, but yeah, I would say it's just it's crazy when you tell him that I want to do it. But my dad was always like, I want you to do what you love. But before he sent me away and that sacrifice with, the early years, obviously we had no sponsors or anything. It was all coming from him.
Yeah.
So those early years, he wanted to see commitment. And I think he saw that when I was 12, when I left to Europe, and I was staying with my mechanic, a very uncomfortable situation, obviously a new country for me. And let's be honest, I came from comfort when I was young.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky and grateful for that. But going to Italy when I was 12 and then not having that, and I could have easily just called him and been like, I'm going to come back. But, I was sleeping on the floor when I was 12 with my mechanics and staying there for 3-4 months at a time at a new country with the language I don't speak. And that's when I was like, and I kept saying, I want to stay, I want to keep racing, I want to keep racing. And that's when he was like, okay, this kid wants to do it. And as soon as he saw that I want to do it and I'm going to commit to it and I'm not going to waste this opportunity, that's when he was like, we'll go all in.
That's amazing. Was there a specific moment in your life when you're like, I'm really good, I can make it?
It's too many times, and I wish I didn't have these because I feel it really halted my progress. When I won, WSK, what I would say, my brother remembers this, but I became like, I became too arrogant, and I was 13, and if I could look back now and look at the journey, it's like I did nothing then, and I feel like if I was just humble at that point and just learned more, I wish I'd taken more of my brother's advice like I do now. As well.
Yeah.
Because back then, when you're a kid, you just see him as competition, but now he's like my guru, Like, there's so much to learn from him, and I still try and learn from him. So those are a few things which I would like to take back, but I think it's all a part of the journey, and it's made me who I am today.
Right.
So.
But any first race, any first memory where you did phenomenally well and you're like, damn, I'm good?
I remember there was a race in Sweden when I was probably 13, 14.
Yeah.
It was a European championship, and they have heats, and it was raining in one of the heats, and I had a really bad qualifying, so I was starting like 31st, and in 8 laps, a European championship in a heat, I overtook P1 in the last corner. Obviously, it was not a final race, so it was a heat, but I was like, okay, that was something that was incredible.
It's amazing. It's amazing. While I'm talking to you, I'm just wondering how a 12-year-old, 13-year-old was traveling all around the world. Like, who was traveling with you? Who was there to, like, you're still very young, you're a child, right? And you can have tons of emotional ups and downs. You don't know how to take losses. You can be at a real low. How did you deal with all of that? Who was there to mentor? I'm sure you were speaking to your folks back home on the phone, etc., and they would probably come and visit you. But on a daily basis, you were alone. So walk me through that.
I mean, I remember the first 2 times I flew from India, I had like a little airport escort who would take me through all the security queues and stuff. But then after that, my dad was like, just do it on your own now, you know what you're doing. But I think it was all his plan to like teach me at a young age how to be mature. And I think that's really what taught me maturity. It taught me many values, which I even use till today, and many values that were important when you want to make it in a sport like this. I would say I was traveling alone, let's say, and my mechanic would pick me up from the airport. Obviously, it would all be coordinated. He would pick me up, I'd go to his house and stay for 3 months, because in karting, there was probably a race every weekend. It's crazy. And you can test like karts, there's no ban or anything. You can just keep driving if you want. And if you want to become better, that's the way to do it. So I was grateful, and I mean, I was lucky enough to have that chance.
So you travel countries with your mechanic?
Honestly, Italy was like the hub.
Yeah.
So that's why I stayed there, because in Italy, karting's huge, and it still is. It's where all the world championships and everything happens, a lot of championships. And so every week there's a different championship, where it'll be like WSK, which is World Series Karting, or it'll be European Championship, or it'll be Italian Championship.
Yeah.
But the competition is crazy because the best drivers are there. They live in Europe. So they go to all of these. I'd just get in a car, we'd drive 6 hours to a track, come back to his house, spend 2 days, go again 6 hours somewhere else. So it was a very exciting time. I would say I just loved it. And I don't know if I felt any low moments in that part of my career, because you're young and you're doing what you love. But for sure, when I come back to India after like going for 3 months and seeing how much I missed with like my friends, like birthday parties or football tournaments or whatever, and seeing the memories they made when I'd left, that was probably the hardest part.
I think, Kush, a very important part of making a champion is the process that they have, the discipline they have, the routine that they have. Can you walk us through, as a young, hungry race car driver, was there a particular routine that you had? And what is your routine like today, right? What kind of discipline do you have? What kind of diet do you have? We'd love to know more.
Of course. I think now is probably the most disciplined I've been and the most hungry I've been.
Yeah.
Because I'm so close and I know I can do it. But at
You
a
will
young
do it.
at a young age, I would say When I first went to Italy, it was more about surviving almost.
Yeah.
Because you're at a new place, so your schedule is just wrapped around racing. So there's no real, you eat what you get on the table, what the family makes. There's nothing, you're just surviving and you're trying to do your best on the racetrack. But now, obviously, times have changed, and it's sort of like I have a full team around me who monitor my every single thing. They monitor my training, my diet, my everything. So it's a lot more structured now.
Yeah.
But I would say a weird way in those early years, it was more just grit and trying to get through the days because there's no one, you don't have family around you. You have strangers who obviously did their best to help you, and they did an amazing job. But it's just you eat what you can, you sleep what time you have to, and that's it. It's all wrapped around racing because you're so busy.
So when you're preparing now
Yeah.
and very close to a race, walk me through a day in the life of Kush Maini.
Sure. So I live in Le Mans this year with my team. I like staying near the team because you feel you become part of it, and I think that's very important, especially in a racing situation where I know it looks like I'm the only one driving, but without the team and that communication we have, even a great driver can suffer.
Yeah.
So I live in Le Mans. I would say leading up to a race, I would wake up probably at like 6 a.m., go to the gym, do a morning cardio session, and then come back, shower, go straight to the workshop where the team is, do probably 6-7 hours of simulator, prepping the track which I'm going to race at, whether it's a double header, so like Monaco, Barcelona, we'd prep at the same time, and because there's no time in between races. So a lot of time on the simulator, trying different setups, working run plans with my engineer. So what we do on the track, we basically do on the sim, just so it's like in your subconscious. And then
It's a little bit like muscle memory.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then going through processes of the weekend. So in free practice, we're going to do this. If this happens, this, planning for situations for the races, etc. Looking at past years, analyzing what happened. So meetings with your engineers.
So a lot of your day is all about preparing.
All
right?
about it.
What time do you normally wake up?
So normally, if I'm in India,
Yeah.
I
No,
come
during
back,
your
when I'm
you're
prepping, probably 6
a.m. And then do you
and then
what do you put into your system? Is that much later? Or?
So I wake up and I switch on bhajans.
Okay.
Hanuman, I'm a big
You're a
believer
bigger,
of
I
Hanuman.
know.
I don't know why, but that just starts the day right for me.
So you start your day with Hanuman Chalisa.
Yeah, and all his bhajans, like
Yeah.
Bajrang Baan and other stuff. So I put that on, I have a playlist, so I just put that on, and then I go about my morning routine. Sometimes I'll do a fasted cardio session if it's a zone 2, like a low zone, or if it's very intense, then I'll fuel up with carbs and stuff. So, but yeah, that's the day, and then in the evening after it's done with all the racing stuff, I come back and do a strength session. So it's basically your whole day is prepping your body, your mind, as well with some meditation in between, and then it's also prepping the racing. So that's like the only, you eat, sleep, breathe processes.
And what time is your last meal? What time do you hit the bed?
My last meal would probably be around 8, I would say. After the strength session, I'd go straight and eat. Then I'd come home, shower, and then, I've tried to limit myself to social media and stuff. I used to be very obsessed with it, but now I sort of just give myself time alone and with my own thoughts. So I would probably be asleep by, let's say, 10.
So, what I take from a champion like you is prioritizing sleep, prioritizing being obsessed with your work, staying away from distractions, and having some kind of a spiritual space so that mentally you're very, very grounded, right? And that comes from your Hanuman Chalisa and your bhajans.
I mean, you do all this work, and when you have a bad race, who do you feel lost.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel Hanumanji's always been with me, and I feel strength from him. And yeah, that's why he's kept me going for so long. And I just love having him around because he's always with me. He's on my phone, background, everything. So everywhere I'm looking, he's there, watching me, guiding me. But not just, I don't want him for success. I want him to guide me, to teach me lessons, humility, to teach me to become a better person and a better driver and to reach my potential. That's my main connection with him.
Yeah. So, Kush, you spoke about right now saying that there's an entire team behind a driver, right? The driver takes the podium. It feels like it's an individual sport, but it's actually a team sport, right? And in life, one cannot progress unless and until you have great partnerships, right?
Of course.
And that's what we want all the dreamers, all the listeners to take that, right? That it's life and progress is all about how you team up with different people.
Yes.
And together you achieve something, right? So let's talk about your first teammates,
Yeah.
your dad and your brother, right? I'd like to know what role they're playing now to make you better.
My dad hasn't stopped in 24 years since I've been born to
Yeah.
work for us. He's the most selfless guy I know. And
Yeah.
if I ever become 10% of the guy he is, I'll be very happy. And I would say my brother's been like my guru, even though I've given him so much crap from when I was young, you know, those early years. But he's always been an older brother, and he's always put that aside and always helped me. Even now, like when I have a bad day in the office, he's the first guy I call, and he's been through everything I'm going through. So he just has some amazing advice, and he always understands me coming from where I am. So that support system, like having those right people around you,
Yeah.
is key, and I'm so lucky to have had them. But that's key really to start your journey.
Now, I met your dad a couple of days ago, and at the party where Mr. Singhania was hosting you, and the energy that he has, you could see the pride that he felt as a father, right? There was a different energy to him. There was a different vibe. You know, you could see how happy and proud he was for everything that he's put into this and for what you're achieving, right? And even when he spoke about your brother as well, right?
Yep.
Both the kids
Yep.
could see that the father's like achieved what he wanted in life,
Yep.
right? It's one is about building an empire for yourself and doing really well in the family that you'll come from in terms of business. It just felt like this was his moment in life, right? He was so proud.
No,
So,
he's like that. He's amazing.
that's great. You know, outside of family, other people have also played a huge role in you becoming this champion that you are today. Your engineers, your supporters, mentors. Is there anybody specific that stands out that's really helped you become you?
There's so many, man. Like, I would say 10% is me, and the rest is people who have helped me. Yeah, I just do the job, but that guidance, I've got some great
Yeah.
people along the way. One recently we can talk about is Mika.
I was going to come to that right
Yeah,
now.
which is
Yeah.
huge, you know, for me. I mean, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's never managed anyone, and this Indian kid. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mika. Even before he started managing me, I got a F2 interview, and I said in that interview, like, Mika's my role model. And 3 months after, he was my mentor.
Yeah.
Now I speak to him every week and
Yeah.
pick his brain for everything. And yeah, some of the advice he gives me is just unreal. And you understand when you're speaking to him on the phone, you understand why this guy is so successful.
I mean, being mentored by the flying Finn, right? Mika Häkkinen himself is just, it must be like, walk me through, honestly, the first time you came to know that he's going to mentor you, right? Like, how did that news break? And did you like bite yourself?
I think he initially said no.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't done much. And obviously, you know, you don't want to, someone like Mika, he doesn't want to waste his time.
Yeah.
He's never managed anyone. So what's so special about me?
So what's the process? You had to make an application?
No,
or?
so my dad, Gautam Singhania, knew Mika, and Gautam told my dad to come and speak to Mika
Yeah.
one of the days in Monaco. And they spoke, they got along really well, blah, blah, blah. But then Mika was like, okay, let's just see. Like, he didn't commit to anything. But it was after Monaco when I was like, I think I was P4 in the championship in my rookie year. And I think after Lando, I'd had the best start to an F2 season as a rookie ever in the history. And as an Indian, obviously, Mika wants to see more drivers from India. He wants to see, because he's never, he in a way, he does love India.
Yeah.
And he wants to see more drivers come out of there. So for him, it was interesting. And that's when it sort of happened, where I got a call from him one of the days leading up to, I think it was Silverstone, leading up to the race. So 4 days before we left for Silverstone, I got a call, and he was like, I'm going to be your mentor, and let's do this together. And yeah, that phone call, my hand was shaking, and it was amazing. And Silverstone, before I qualified second for the feature race, and that was when he gave his first piece of advice to me. And from then on, it's been flat out.
Amazing. For any champion, it's very important that mentally you're very, very strong, right?
Yep.
Especially for racing, it's physically exhausting. There's a lot of pressure that you feel on your neck and on your body, and you lose a lot of weight. It must be also mentally extremely challenging. But there's also a lot of pressure you face otherwise, right?
Yep.
Qualifying, the pressure that you feel from maybe the supporters, the family, the country, and the pressure that you put on yourself, right? How do you stay emotionally and mentally grounded?
Very good question. I think, first of all, hitting your first question where you said physical and mental, I think mental is so important, but also physical. But every track has its own charm, Like, let's say Jeddah, high speed, hot, it's very physical. Like, after the race, you start, like, getting light in the head and etc. But, like, let's say Monaco, it's not such a physical track, but it's more mental.
Yeah.
So if you lose focus in Monaco, you're in the wall. It's too narrow. So it's very interesting how you have to balance them out. But also, like I said, the structure I have behind me now, working with a full-time mind coach and having a nutritionist, a trainer, it's all like to that one goal. So every decision you make in your life is performance-based.
Amazing. You spoke about a mind coach, right?
Yeah.
And this is very interesting because it's very important that every athlete completely has control on their mind, right? Any interesting thing that your coach told you that stayed with you?
So I had many years, I had Shri Advani, who's a dear friend, and we've done so much work together. But there's so many, there's been so many lows in racing and in sport in general.
Yeah.
I feel you have more bad days than good.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's just how
It's
it
true.
goes. It's just how it goes. And I don't feel when you're young, you fully accept that. So you don't understand it. Now you do a bit, but still, I can't tell you on camera how it feels after a bad race when you feel like you've let your country, your supporters, your fans, your family down.
And yourself.
Yeah. Because there's been so much investment, so much time investment, so much energy put into this that you don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
So that's like the hardest part. So spend a lot of time with my mind coach, but it's more like how to deal with certain situations. So a pressure situation, race start. What do you think about? What's affecting you before you sleep, before a race? Like how to calm your mind, how to stop thinking about the negatives, how to bring positives out of a negative situation. So one thing he told me was nervousness is good. We look at it as a negative thing, but if you weren't nervous about something, you don't care about it.
Correct.
And if you don't care about it, then what are you doing? So that's one of the advice that stuck with me through the years.
But when you put that helmet on, when you're in the car, does your mind go blank? Are you in a flow state?
Quali, yes.
Yeah.
In the race, actually, you don't want to be in a flow state because there's so many things you need to change. So you need to be actually like with your engineer speaking. You need to be understanding what the car's doing. If the front tires are degrading, if the rear tires are degrading, you got to change the brake bias, manage pit stops.
But besides that, there's nothing else on the mind, right?
No. It's just it's almost in quali. I felt flow state sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's you feel like you're in a tunnel and everything's going hazy. And honestly, after the session, you don't remember anything. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's almost like you had a crazy night at the bar.
Or somebody else took over, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but no, I would say in the race, it's more you're there, but you're only thinking about stuff is happening in the race.
Correct. It's amazing. A champion like anybody else goes through highs and lows. There are some really dark days and you have to weather the storm. You've had a few of these, right? And I'm going to go deep into all of them with your permission.
Of course.
But let's talk first about the low that you felt in 2021. Tell me what was going on. And you came back strong in 22. So just tell us, how did you transition?
Yep.
But before that, what went wrong?
So 2020, I finished second in British Formula 3. So I was obviously, I was no one huge then, but I had promise. And going into 2021, obviously the goal was World Formula 3, which starts, let's say, in March. And there was a winter championship in Asian Formula 3, which I got picked by a team, an Indian team, and it was a full Indian team. And so that was the plan, to do that for prep as for the World F3 Championship.
Yeah.
And I remember I was really fast in the testing. And it was really good. Everything was going well. And then I came to the first qualifying and I drove the same. I felt really good and I was like 16th. And I came after and I looked at the data and I was like just losing everything on the straights. And the thing with this championship, it's a 4-week championship. It's like a winter championship.
Yeah.
So everything happens in 4 weeks and it's done. And man, I struggled. Like I just had no speed on the straight. And then at that point, what do? You can't go to the media and say it doesn't work that way, and you're stuck, and you don't want to pull out because then you're just giving up. So I was stuck in a very bad situation there. Didn't have a good. I finished like nowhere in the championship. Didn't do anything great. So from all that promise in 2020, in racing, you're only as good as your last race.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I became a no one, and my F3.
The sponsors pulled out, and
So my F3 was gone, and then obviously COVID happened and
Yeah.
stuff. So I couldn't get into World F3, and that's when I took a break from racing for about like 8 months. I was just at home. I took up Muay Thai,
yeah.
just another sport. But
But did you still like have the conviction that you're definitely going to come back and race, or
no, I was
did
gonna
you
stop,
have-
man.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna. So singles.
That's another point.
Yeah.
To become a champion, don't stop when you
Yeah,
hit the
exactly.
lowest low, right?
Exactly. So I was gonna stop, and there's two different racings. There's Formula One, obviously, and then there's endurance racing,
Yeah.
which is two different
Yeah.
paths. So Formula One was done for me. It was 0%. I did a test in endurance, and I started trying to go down that route. And I even did a race at the end of 2021 in endurance. But yeah, it didn't call to me like single seaters did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that 8 months, I was just at home. I didn't leave the house.
Yeah.
I had a massive beard.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, a massive beard.
I'd love to see a photograph after the show.
A massive beard, and yeah, I was just rock bottom, man.
Yeah.
Like that feeling, it's still with me in the back of my mind. And sometimes when I feel really low, I look back to that because I'm like, okay, it can be worse.
What was the conversation the family was having at that point with you?
I was just like, man, I was like, you can't be around me then. I was just so irritable. I used to get angry at everything, take it out on people who are close to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good place. 1 year you don't do any of it. You're done traveling. You're just sitting at home, doing nothing. That hits you bad. That hits you big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, from before that it was always like I'm gonna make it to F1. I'm gonna make it to F1. So that was the year where I was like, this is gone. Like there's no chance.
Yeah.
No. That's when I dove more into Hanumanji, that spirituality side of me, and he gave me strength to come back. But yeah, then 2022, obviously I got a chance, and yeah, I did a good enough job to keep going.
Amazing. Kush, you spoke about the speed on the straight, right? And that actually brings me to another low that you all faced as a family. Arjun started racing in F2 before you. And enough reels out there to know what happened in that incident, right? And you could see the pain and the anguish that he had, the frustration that was building in. In the hindsight, he's doing phenomenally well today in what he's doing. But that incident would have been very, very traumatizing for not only him, but the family as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the incident and post that, how did the family deal with it? Because what's not in your control is external factors, what somebody else does. But how you process with that issue or the problem is totally in your control. Can you tell us a little more about that incident if you're comfortable with it?
Of course. I think, first of all, what he went through, not many people would probably survive it, and where he is now is amazing. I
Yeah.
don't think I could survive that. Obviously, it was a lot of races on, and when he blew up, it was obviously at breaking point. So
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't see or can't see, what happened behind the scenes. But when you're at his age, he was younger than me even, and you have a dream of Formula One, and he did so well in British F4. He almost beat George to the title, and he had a lot of promise in his career, and he is one of the best drivers I know. And yeah, when you have that opportunity in Formula 2, you're in the lights.
Yeah.
That's when you got to perform, and if you don't, your career can be over. If you don't show something special, it can be done. And that year was very important for him. And yeah, when you're down on the straights, that's out of your control as a driver,
Yeah.
and you lose time. And when in Formula 2, you have the best drivers in the world, and when you're losing time on the straight, that's done. That's like fighting.
Your car was significantly slower.
It's like going to war with a spoon,
Yeah.
So obviously he blew up then, which is fully understandable. But yeah, it was just knowing that what he went through. He almost he loved F1 before that. He loved the whole idea of Formula One and everything. And since that day, he's not been the same about Formula One. You know,
Yeah.
something's changed in him.
Yeah.
He's always been one of those pure guys who just loves driving. I love Formula One. We're both different in that way, but he was done with it from that day onwards. You could just tell something changed in him, and now he's enjoying himself more than ever, making a nice career in motorsport and doing amazing. So that was his journey change, but what he went through that year was very low, much lower than whatever I've experienced.
And what is the role that you all played as a family?
I mean, Arjun was very he doesn't talk much about these things back then. He was closed off, and this made him even more closed off, obviously, with the thing going viral as well. And people not understanding what it means to someone. First of all, that radio should not have been broadcasted.
Yeah.
And second of all, they don't understand what they go through as drivers, as drivers.
And the initial reaction was a lot of mocking as well, right?
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of empathy around that.
Of course, but there was a lot of mocking. But I mean, you have the keyboard warriors that just have never been in a situation or can't even put themselves in that situation. So that's fine. I mean, you're always going to have that. But I have to say, I've had similar things as my brother in Formula 2, but they've taken action so quick. So they've been amazing. But Arjun was sort of like the guinea pig in that. And I feel they're doing much better now, and I'm having a much better time in Formula 2. But obviously, whatever happened to him, he came out of that. But it definitely changed something in him.
But what's the beauty within the Maini family is that he's doing phenomenally well now in what he's doing, and he's made a slight switch in his dream from Formula 1 into motorsport racing. But his brother's living that dream, right? You are pretty much at the brink of F1.
Yep.
Hopefully, in the next few months, years, we're going to see an Indian out there racing in Formula 1, making us proud. But he must be also immensely happy and proud that his brother is kind of living that now.
He is. And he's always on my back. He's been the biggest wisher of mine from day one. Even though our relationship started with me having jealousy of him, he's always been the opposite. That's why I see him as such a great person. Just not just a driver, but also outside the track. I have so much to learn from him as a person. Because I would say I'm not quite up to that par or level of him. Anyone who's ever met him knows that he's just the nicest guy, but also can be super competitive. But doesn't have a bad bone in his body. So just to have support like that is priceless. I think it doesn't happen. It doesn't come to everyone. So,
what I love is that y'all could have been rich, arrogant kids, but it's just amazing that the both brothers have lived a dream, worked really hard at getting to where y'all have got to today, and it's become all about resilience, effort, discipline, just the hunger to be something, right? And that's where I tell my kids and I tell everyone saying, sport instills those values in you, right? So it doesn't matter where you come from. If you pick up a sport early and you really want to excel at it, it helps you build a lot of life skills that can take you throughout life without really getting weathered by it, right?
Exactly.
So, we'll come to your next low. This was earlier on in your life, right?
Yep.
Young kid at the age of 11, 12, moves from Bangalore to Italy, comes from a very privileged background, has not really faced difficult situations in life, is thrown into a totally new world in Italy. Like you said, you were living with your mechanic, you were sleeping on the floor. You could still deal with all of that, but racism is really tough, right? I faced racism in my mid-20s, and I'm extremely strong mentally, but it broke me.
Yep.
Right? And for a kid that's just entering teens to face that, it would have been incredibly tough. Can you walk us through those early days of racism and what did it do for you?
Yep.
Would you change anything now?
It's funny. First of all, I got a question the other night. Did you miss the food when you first went to Italy? And I was just like, that's the last thing, because
Yeah.
there's so many other things
To deal with.
to deal with. Yeah. But coming back to what you just said, I would say I was probably 12 years old. It was my first race in Europe. So after I won the national championship, so 2012, my first race in Europe. And we were going, so in karting, when it was a big event, they'd have a parade where the drivers go with the flag of their country and,
Yeah.
and walk the track. And there's a picture and just to show, like, before the finals, what what it means to the whole paddock, like different countries, different drivers. And there was, I think, me and my brother from India, and maybe a few more, one or two more. But yeah, we were walking with the flag, and I was 11 and or 12, and these guys in a higher category, so maybe 15, 16, they just started, laughing at my name because
Yeah.
my name is also like cannabis.
Yeah.
So they just started laughing at that. But when you're now, I would probably laugh. But
Yeah.
when you're a kid, when you're
Yeah.
12, that really messes
can
with
bother
you.
you.
Then your skin color,
Yeah.
just laughing at that. That changed me, man. Like, that really changed me because I became so insecure.
Yeah.
After that, I'd feel like anxiety at any gathering with foreign people. And this only left me at the age of like 16. So for those
Yeah.
4 years, that changed me and changed how I viewed everything. Even when I got onto a flight and I saw like a foreigner looking at me, I'd be very nervous.
Yeah.
And when someone asked me where you're from, I would be like embarrassed to say India.
Yeah.
And that's changed to me being like the proudest Indian ever.
That's amazing.
So it definitely, what you said,
Yeah.
when you're at a young age and something like this happens, it really changes you.
And it's amazing. I mean, you've made it so vocal on how proud you are to be an Indian,
Yeah.
how much you love India, how much you love coming back, the food,
Yeah.
everything. So, and IPL now, right? You're just telling me a little bit about how that bug's bit you now. So we'll stick to racing right now. But I'll come to one of the last lows, which was honestly quite scary. Your crash in 24, right? I think an incident like that can really shake you up. I understand that that's the life that you'll live, and you have to kind of pull your self up and come back. But it would have been pretty scary, right? Your car was like in shambles, and it didn't move, and it was just like your race was over even before it started, right? But we're very glad that you came out alive, unscratched. Can you tell us a little bit about your 2024 crash?
Of course.
And the next time you got into the car, it didn't bother you.
Of course. So the crash was actually a build-up of many things. Obviously, I started the 2024 season being the first Indian to pole a race. Obviously, having like 5-6 podiums that year, and I was up to P3 somewhere in the championship. And from like the midway point, it went downhill. So like, I didn't get a point in the last like 4 weekends or whatever, and that's crazy, for someone who was fighting in the front of the championship in the start. So for whatever reasons, like, racing can be weird sometimes, and I just didn't have any pace. I was so slow, and in the start of the day, I was probably the quickest driver. So I don't want to get into that right now, but it was basically like
it was an important race for you.
Yeah, because I'd finally qualified decently.
Yeah,
I was
P5?
P5.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, finally, let's just break this curse of not getting points. So let's just, going into the race, I was just like, I was so focused. But in a weird way, it made me not focus on the right thing. So we have a thing in F2 called start mode. So you have to press 2 buttons before you reach the grid box, and it goes into start mode where your first gear becomes very aggressive and short.
Yeah.
So for the start, so to avoid stalling. And if you don't press that, you don't move because you're not in start mode.
Correct.
And I forgot to press it.
Okay.
In that whole lead up to the grid. So it was my fault.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's amazing. I think this is the first time you're talking about this, right?
Yeah.
So,
first time I'm talking about this. So it's my fault. And because I was just so consumed by all the bad races that I was like, okay, in the start, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go up to here. And I planned the whole race in my head.
Comes back to my point, right? When you think too much and the mind comes in, the champion doesn't come out.
So big lesson there.
Yeah.
So that was a build-up of a lot of frustration, a lot of, obviously from being looked at as a F1 candidate for the next year to being like, he's nobody. That frustration. So that race was like my chance to prove it. I was finally in a good position, and I just remember the lights going off and me leaving this and just not moving. And then I felt a massive hit, 2 hits, car was in pieces. And But honestly, all I could think of was I lost this opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. My car, I think there were fans. So when I crashed, my car was looking at the grandstand, and there were fans going like, "There's fire! Get out! Get out! Get out! There's fire! Your car's on fire!"
Yeah.
And I was just sat there thinking,
And your
like,
car was on, like,
yeah, it was gone, man.
fully
That-
on fire,
that
and
looked
you're
like-
still sitting there calm, not moved.
That looked like a
You
pancake.
just
I
looked
think,
like you were really angry at yourself. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just so angry at myself, and I was just like, the only thing that could go on in my head right then was, I've missed an opportunity. I missed an opportunity. The next 40 minutes, they took me to the medical center. I didn't say a word. My heart rate was like 60. You know, it was low.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
And otherwise, your heart rate's supposed to be very high,
yeah,
right?
after a crash like
Yeah.
that, you know. So I was like almost like gone. I was like soulless for a bit.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
What was the experience the next time you got into a car?
Oh, that I didn't care. That I
Didn't
just,
care, right?
yeah,
So
no,
then
zero.
the
Zero.
mind was blank and the champion was back.
But to get over that I didn't start and I
Yeah.
lost that opportunity,
Yeah.
took so long.
It took long.
But I could jump in if I got out the car and you put me in another car, I'd jump in and drive. So
Okay.
that doesn't affect me anymore. It's more the failure that affected me.
Let's talk about your milestones and your victories next, right? Happy memories.
Something happier.
Yeah. Alpine F1 test. I'm not gonna talk more. I want you to tell us, right? What was that opportunity like?
Yep.
How did it happen? What did it mean for you? Like, did you like pinch yourself? How did you celebrate it? How did the family take it? Tell me everything about it.
So obviously, finding out that I was gonna drive a Formula One car, first of all, was just. I mean, it didn't sink in until I actually reached the track and I was driving it. To be honest, because you just dream about it your whole life, and when someone says it to you on the phone or you read it on an email, it's like it doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
But getting to the track finally and doing the first few laps, I was just so excited, man. The car is just unreal. It's a different level. It's so fast, so well engineered, and you can actually like stuff that probably takes 20 minutes to change in an F2 car setup-wise,
Yeah.
you can change while you're driving in the car in F1. So you can actually tweak the car to what you feel limited with.
It's a lot faster, but a lot easier.
I would say it's hard to be super fast to the last 1-2 tenths, but F1 is super easy to get comfortable in because it's so well engineered.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just amazing. And then I remember I finished that day, and it went really well. All my 4 tests went really well. And obviously the F2 season didn't go well, which we just spoke about.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this might be it with Alpine. Like, why would they keep me around? But
What is
because
it, 110 laps or something?
yeah, like in one day. So that was in one of the tracks. But it was basically like Alpine then saw that, you know, I had potential in the F1 car and I was really fast.
Yeah.
And my feedback was good and I was professional and they really liked me. And that's the reason they promoted me to reserve. So I wasn't expecting that at all. And now I'm reserve driver. Obviously,
So you're knocking the door hard.
Knocking the door hard, but I cannot forget that without performing in F2 and proving yourself, you're not going to get the chance.
Yeah.
So they've kept me around another year, but this is probably it, you know?
Yeah.
Now is the time I need to show up. So there's
Yeah.
pressure, but I welcome it. I think I'm in a good place now with my new team, and I
Well,
think
that's how
there's
champions
a
are
long
built,
way to
right?
go. Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain that, India is going to see their next F1 driver very, very
That's
soon,
so
right?
sweet. Thank you very much.
How did the parents take it and how did the family take it? And
I just remember my dad was there for my first test.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of me hugging him after my first run in the car. But yeah, honestly, as soon as I did the first run for myself, it was like work. I'm in work mode. But after the day finished, I was just sitting there and he came in and we were just like, man, I just drove an F1 car. Like,
Yeah.
that's unreal. Like, this is our dream.
Yeah.
And then my brother as well was just so excited because it was always his dream at one point. So it was just an amazing moment just to know that I've come somewhere in this journey after all the hardships. And even after all the hardships of 2024, someone's still looking out for me because I'm getting these opportunities.
Hanumanji.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I say.
So-
But yeah, someone's still looking out for me. For me, it's Hanumanji. You can say whatever you want. But yeah, I feel like there's an angel guarding me, I feel.
It's amazing. Let's talk about the biggest moment in your life, right? 2025, Monaco F2 sprint race. Pole position, national anthem. We're all so proud. Tell us, what did you feel? What was going on?
Honestly, like I started the race, and in
Yeah.
Monaco, it's difficult to overtake, very difficult.
Yeah.
So I knew if I get off the line, the start is so much pressure in the start. I never want to relive that moment, because knowing that if you mess up the start,
Yeah.
you're done, because there's going to be a very low chance you pass the guy back. And many people have actually lost the lead in the start. So watching the races from previous years, I was getting even more nervous because people were losing positions from P1. But as soon as I got that start right, I was like, okay, now I just need to get into a groove. There shouldn't be any more bumps in the road. And then lap 2, I had a brake issue. So one of my rear brakes stopped working. And in Monaco, that's the worst thing, because you're braking all the time and you need efficient brakes.
Yeah.
And basically, when one brake stops working, it stresses your front brakes more. So when you go into a corner, like slow corners, so like the last sector of Monaco, you lock the fronts a lot, and then that ruins your balance. And honestly, like 3 laps to the end, I almost hit the wall alone. So it was like that whole race was very stressful.
Yeah.
But I was not very fast because I had the issue. But I just remember the last 2 laps, all I could think about was the national anthem in Monaco for the first time on a Saturday right before F1 qualifying, where the stands were full. And that's the only thing I could think about. And I remember just crossing the line, and I just had goosebumps even before I heard the national anthem, because that's all I could think about. It was just an amazing feeling.
That's amazing, right? You're only the third Indian that's knocking on F1. You know, in 2005 we had Narayan Karthikeyan. In 2011 we had Karun Chandok. Hopefully in 2026 we're going to have Kush Maini. You know, how do you keep yourself grounded? How do you keep your feet on the ground?
Hanumanji, yeah. He's the answer to a lot of my, reading his stories, having so much power, being so humble. I think we can learn a lot from it. And that's why I feel like God's already given us so many tools, which we don't sometimes see.
Yeah.
But it's not just asking for success or if I don't get this, then you're not real. It's more like He's already given you the tools. It's up to you to take the lessons out of it.
There's so much to be grateful for,
right?
Yeah,
so much. And yeah, there's always a positive in something, and I feel that humility comes from Him. And there are times where sometimes I'm not humble, and I look at myself in the mirror and I actually pray to Him and I say, guide me.
Guide me.
Because we all need guidance in some way. And sometimes we're not the best versions of ourselves, but learning from that, we have the tools. God's given us the tools, I feel.
Yeah.
But really spending time and understanding those tools, I think we can really become better people.
Nice. You spoke about guide me. So for the next section, you're going to guide us. This is all for all the dreamers listening in.
Is this the fun part for you?
Yeah. For a young kid that wants to pick up racing, right? What advice do you have?
I would say, first of all, the advice I would give myself as a kid would be leave the ego at the door when you go for training or testing or whatever. Because there were so many things which I feel I could have learned more if I had just listened and just been more receptive. And I feel like with my brother Arjun, I mean, I could have learned so much more from him, but I didn't decide to, It was more that ego, that arrogance that I'm the best, and that stopped me from growing more. Secondly, I would also say be ready to have more bad days than good. I think accept that before you even start. So that keeps you more emotionally regulated through your career, because that's something I struggle with. But it's just a fact. It's just how racing is. And yeah, I would say the last thing I would say is not let the things that you can't control bother you. I know it's so easy said, and trust me, I struggle with it a lot. But starting at a young age to just understand to let go of the things you can't control helps you grow quicker, and maybe one day you'll become that bulletproof mind, which I'm still looking for.
So yeah. So say if my son wanted to get into racing, what does it take from a parent like me, right? Emotionally, financially, logistically, how do I get him?
Basically hell, to be honest, but it's very rewarding. Obviously, it will take financial investment.
But it's crazy, right? It's like what, 6 crores a year that I'd probably have to invest?
I mean, the early years, to be honest, is cheaper. When you go into Europe, it starts getting more expensive. But honestly, if your kid starts performing and he puts in that commitment and let's say he reaches a very good level, someone will pick him up and sponsors will start to come, and
That's great.
that'll be a bigger help on you. But definitely the first 5, 6 years, 7 years, you got to be ready to invest, whether it's a crore a year or whatever.
Yeah.
That investment you have to be ready for, and you have to be ready for not seeing any results, and just keep trusting the process.
Right. Nice. That's actually very well said.
Thank you.
What's next for Kush Maini? What do the next 12 months look like for you?
So I'm here. I came back to India for a week, my favorite place on
Yeah.
earth, to recharge. And then I'm back. I have 2 weeks of training, prepping the next race, which is in Austria. And so it's back to full work mode. The next 12 months is me just working my butt off. I feel my main goal is to show my potential to the world and to all my supporters and my team, and to show what I'm really, truly capable of, which I haven't shown yet, I feel. And if I do that, I'll be happy. So working to achieve that goal of unlocking my potential is what I'm going to be working for the next 12 months.
Fantastic. And we're all rooting for you.
Thank you very much.
You know, you've anyways made us proud. No pressure. You know, just continue doing what you're doing.
That's
right?
very
And
sweet.
wherever you get, we're all proud any which ways. So,
Thank you so much.
You know, you're kind of shaping a legacy, which is going to make a lot of young kids to aspire to want to become the next Kush Maini. You know, before we end this chat, let's have some fun. Let's get into a quick rapid fire. Right?
Let's do it.
Monaco or Monza?
Oh, Monaco.
Quali lap or final overtake?
Final overtake.
Karting or simulators?
Karting.
Okay. Bengaluru or Barcelona?
Bengaluru.
Nice. Helmet on or headphones in?
Helmet on.
Nice. Race prep ritual?
Pray to Hanuman. Easy.
Dream F1 team?
Oh, Alpine.
Well said. Who wins in a karting face-off? You or Arjun?
Oh, I'll say the same. Karting's gonna be, it's dicey. He's very good. Yeah, I'll say him. I have to make up for many years of making him go crazy, so he'll beat me.
Nice. Who would win in a regular car on the streets of Bangalore?
He hates driving fast on the road, so I'll just say me.
Yeah? Excellent. One word to describe what's next.
Destiny.
Amazing. Great. The last segment, keep quiet until you hear the best driver of all time.
Oh my God. I don't know if Mika's gonna come or not, so do I have to wait, or Senna even?
Yeah.
Or Hamilton, Schumacher.
Lewis Hamilton,
I'll
Michael
speak.
Schumacher.
I'll speak at Lewis.
Sorry?
I'll speak at Lewis, so there's
Yeah.
no controversy.
But yeah, I'll anyways tell you.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, Verstappen, Vettel, Prost, Senna, Fernando Alonso, Mansell, Jackie Stewart, Niki Lauda, Mika Häkkinen, Kush Maini.
Not me yet, unfortunately. One day maybe. But I would go with Lewis, Mika, Senna as well. I don't know if you said Senna, but he's just obviously a god in the sport. So those are the ones I would go with.
You know, I'm pretty sure in like 5-10 years from now, I'll be interviewing another young, aspiring Formula race car driver wanting to compete in F1, and I'll ask them this question and they'll stop at Kush Maini. Kush Maini, it's been an amazing honor to interview you. Best of luck. I think you're going to do phenomenally well. You're an amazing guy, and it's our honor that you've been here on the Champions podcast. Thank you so much.
Honor's mine, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a
Thank
great
you.
time. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.